Here we are. We're back. Welcome, geeks. Thank you for joining us. We are here with our spoiler review. Oh my God, it was so hard talking about this show and not being able to say names. I needed to say, what the hell was that creature? What was that big crow-looking thing? And it was there, and that's like the demon. What is happening in this show? Ty, please break this down for me. What are we seeing?
Man. So, right off the bat, we are introduced to Stephen Grant.
Right?
And it's pretty quirky. You see that he's been tying his wrist up while he sleeps.
Yeah,
He, he
his little
tapes
morning
his
routine.
door.
That was kind of like, what's that? That's interesting.
Yeah, he tapes his door. He feeds his goldfish that has one fin. Uh, and then, he ends up going to work at a museum. And he's sitting there complaining. It's like, hey, these were doing Egyptian stuff, but they're doing the Egyptian gods wrong. The Ennead has supposed to have 9, not 7, and no one likes him except one girl who was like, "Hey, you ready for our steak date?"
Man, let me tell you, I would have been like, well, let's go tonight. Like, I was like, who was that? I'm sad they didn't make it to that date because I wanna see more of her. But continue.
Same, same, and it was just he didn't even remember asking her on the date, which was kind of a cue. Like, you
Right.
don't remember that? And he goes to sleep and wakes up, has this terrible dream,
Yeah.
and you find out that he's lost days. Like what he
Yeah.
thinks is Friday is now Sunday. And man, his dream is where he's his Mark persona. Like he's basically taken over. And
Right.
it's crazy. Because he doesn't remember. And suddenly you hear this otherworldly voice, the voice of Khonshu. It's like, oh, the idiot's in charge now. And it's
Okay, so
very interesting.
that's the mystical element that
Yes.
comes in. And so one of the things that, and first, like, so here was my immediate like impressions from the episode as a whole. I love the mysticism that we're getting to see the character of Arthur, his scales, the scale tattoo, judging, and when he does that breakdown later in the museum, that was like, okay, now I know what's happening. That's really cool. I mean, you can kind of figure it out because he says, "Are you willing to weigh your soul against judgment and let the scales be the result?" So, I mean, you kind of got an idea of what's going on. I got to know more details about the scarab. What's going on with the scarab? Because the only thing I know about scarabs, of course, is in an entirely other company. It's DC, and that's Blue Beetle. So this scarab, I'm like, what is that? What is
The
that?
scarab is a very prominent thing in Egypt mythology. Egyptian
Okay, yeah,
mythology.
like Egyptian culture as a
So
whole. And
I'm
so,
not sure what it has to do with this. It's quite interesting because Arthur Harrow in the comics is not this. Like when I talk
okay,
about in the spoiler-free reviews, like they've taken these liberties. Like an Arthur Harrow, he was a mad scientist basically. He was
gotcha.
basically make his whole thing was like he was trying to numb people's pain because he was trying to figure out how to numb his own pain, and so he's basically creating these painless warriors. So it's very different from the comics, but it works so good. And I think that works really well even with this series because usually you focus on Mark, but now we're focusing on Steven. And instead
Okay,
of being the playboy millionaire, he's kind of the bumbling idiot that we're kind of seeing the whole thing through. And psychology, if we're talking about dissociative identity disorder, you have a personality type called the protector. So
right.
anytime he gets in danger, that personality takes over because it's there to protect you. And that's very interesting to me for several reasons. Because one, does that mean Mark is the personality in order to protect him? Or is Steven the personality and Mark is just having to come take care of him because he's the mercenary? It's a
Right. Like
very interesting
the
take.
idea that Steven allows Mark to relax or not always be on 10, the idea that those roles are reversed, that is an interesting thought. Now, when we see I'm guessing that's a demon at the end that is fighting. Kind of looks like a rabid dog creature that's chasing. Um, when we see that, you see that Mark actually steps up and he's like, Steven is thinking he's going to die. He's like, there's no way out. I don't know what to do. And then that's when Mark is like, no, I can save us. So it seems like they're definitely wanting to try to position the Mark personality to be that protector. And they definitely make Steven look very forgettable, very looked over, very, you know, except for the one girl that was going on the date with him, he doesn't really seem to be respected by anybody. He's got this lonely existence, and you almost kind of feel sorry for the guy. And
Do you remember
so,
Howard from the Rugrats?
yeah,
And how like no one really liked him. It wasn't like they disliked him. They were so indifferent to him. That's
correct.
kind of was like with this. It's like, you're
Yeah.
here, I nothing you. Like,
Right, because even to dislike you takes too much energy.
yeah.
So you're just here. It is what it is. Um, it was really good to see Ethan Hawke. Um, and I can't, like it's still too early to tell, but his presence was very commanding in the scenes that he's in. And it seems like this character of Arthur, whoever he is a very important character right off the bat. Um, I was a little thrown by the worship portion at the beginning. He takes a little glass in the shoes, and he starts walking. He's got the cane. I see the cane is actually like connected to the scales or something. So I get a feeling there's going to be a lot of artifacts involved.
Yeah.
And when we were talking earlier about the way they tie things in and connect things, when he does his little trying to read judgment on Stephen, it seems like he does, like almost like he can't read Stephen, because he says very clearly, "There's chaos in you." Oh my God! Somebody said the word chaos in Marvel. That means the Darkhold. That means
Mephisto.
Wanda. That means Doctor Strange. Mephisto confirmed. And so that's where I was kind of saying, like, the fact that he talks about chaos and chaos being in him, and the you said it was Onshu.
Or Khonshu.
Khonshu. Khonshu is the voice that he's hearing talk. And it's not until he finds himself in trouble that he finds himself able to talk to Mark, which I thought was really interesting, because Khonshu can talk to him regardless, but he can only talk to Mark when he's consciously aware that he's, like, when he looks in a mirror, the reflection in the mirror does not respond the same way. And that was kind of like, that was kind of dope.
There was that moment where he has the phone and he hears the voice. Like, he doesn't see a reflection, he hears a voice. And then he opens the bathroom, and that's when he sees Mark.
Right. And so, like, it's kind of like, and I'm trying to think, there was another thing, that the dissociative personality disorder and the way or dissociative identity disorder, the way they are portraying it here, it is like we said, he has the blackouts and he loses time. And obviously, anytime he's Mark, it seems as though the other personality is not going to know what happens during that time.
And that's pretty common in DID.
Right. And so when you have, like I said, the first thing that came to mind as I was watching, I was thinking about Split, and I was thinking about all the different characters that James McAvoy was portraying, and how distinctly different those characters were. He had the female character who was kind of running things. He had the bully character. He had the little kid, and like, they were so clearly different. And he even had like a few others that they sprinkled in a couple of scenes in the movie. And I see that I got to give Isaac. I got to give Isaac credit. Yeah, I got to give Isaac's credit. These are two clearly different people.
Like,
who was
Steven's hunched, Mark is upright. What's really interesting to me is that Mark is very conscious of who Steven is, which usually isn't the case. Usually in DID, the personalities don't talk to each other. But Mark is very aware. I mean, he's sitting there realizing that the fish got another fish for Steven, a fish that had two fins. He wasn't going to get him another Nemo.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what kind of tips Steven off, like, what's going on? Why? How did my fish grow a fin? And he's like, what are you talking about? You came in here and bought one. And it was just...
Now, it's a different property, but another example that comes to mind of, and this is the character I was trying to think of earlier. In DC, they have a show on it's on HBO Max, um, and they have a character called Crazy Jane, and her power, um, like Crazy Jane's power. The show. I'm sorry. Let me be clear. The show is Doom Patrol, and
Yeah,
Doom Patrol is all the different heroes and whatnot. Cyborg's there. Um, they've got like the stretchy. They've got some. It's a great show. So just
it's
go
a
watch
fun
it.
show.
But
Absolutely.
um, Crazy Jane has like, I think it's like 99 different superpowers because she also has dissociative identity disorder, and she actually has 99 different personalities. They go through about 15 or 20 through the course of the show, but that's another situation where there's a handful of personalities that know what's going on, and there's some that have no clue.
I think a Marvel example you can go with is Typhoid Mary,
Yeah.
because that one's more limited as far as personalities, and you absolutely have the basic one, and then you have the empowered one.
And those are and it's a situation where they're like, let me take over, let me take the wheel. And
Jesus,
it's
take the
almost
wheel.
like they literally have the analogy of like driving, and whoever's in control, whoever's driving at the time, they're the one that's consciously aware of what's going on, and the other personality becomes dormant at that time, and so they have no knowledge of what's taking place. Given that um, he goes through the steps of like protecting himself, and he chains himself to a post at night. He puts sand around the bed. I'm not sure if the sand is to keep spirits and stuff out, or just to be able to look in the morning and track footsteps and that kind of thing to know if he's actually gotten up.
Well, he's also
Um,
got the tape on the door too.
he's got the tape on the door, which to me kind of made me think of like the old spy trick of like putting hair on the door or a matchstick in the corner. If the door is opened at any point, because those things fall. So the tape isn't like taping it to seal it. I think it's just a thing. If it's broken or not a smooth piece, he'll know that it's been moved. Um, so he's trying to get a hang on. He's trying to get a handle on how he's losing time and what's happening. And he clearly has no clue because he wakes up a few days later after having this bad dream. It's Sunday and he thinks it's only Friday. And I'm very
Misses
curious to
that
see.
date, man. Oh, my heart broke for him.
My heart broke. And you could see right there his heart broke because he went ahead and had the steak anyway and was just like, you know what? Whatever. It's like, how should we prepare it? Make it good. Just make it good.
So you want it
Um,
well done? Sure, that sounds good. And I'm like, ew, no.
yeah, like not a good steak. I was mad at that waiter for that. I
Oh,
did catch
same.
that. What do you think we can expect from this series? Like, what do you think they're going? How do you think they're going to take it based on what you saw in the first episode?
So this gave me vibes of Netflix Daredevil, where
Okay,
it's a lot more darker toned. I think they are going with a thriller aspect where it's very much, wait, what? Going to be twists and turns. Um, I'm very curious. In all honesty, when I saw the trailer of him beating what looked like what I thought was Werewolf by Midnight, I thought they were going to bring him in, which I feel like I've heard that they are going to bring him in towards the end.
okay.
But I do love the mysticism behind it. I'm kind of curious the relationship he's going to develop because, like, Marcus trying to protect him, Khonshu has no respect for him. Calls him an
For
idiot
for Steven.
Steven, yeah. Calls him an idiot all the time. And I'm absolutely curious because, like, in the comics, Mark is the primary personality, but it's really coming across that Steven's the main personality. And it's just like,
I mean, maybe they go and they try to do they try to find that balance, much like the Hulk, where when Bruce Banner tried to commit, and this is using MCU canon. When Bruce Banner tried to commit suicide, the other guy spit the bullet out, and so even though he doesn't necessarily want the other guy, he accepts that that's a part of him, and once he finds that balance, he goes Planet Hulk. So I mean, not Planet Hulk, but he goes Professor Hulk. So I'm wondering if they're going to have Mark empower Steven more, because if you look at like and you can kind of see here the image I have behind us. There's three different versions, and it looks like this is actually going to be our. If you're looking at it, you have one version that is the Moon Knight, the costume. He's got the little spiked hood, kind of looks like something from Assassin's Creed. Um, that is your Mark Spector. But we also see Steven in full white garb, and I think he will understand that there's times Mark is doing something and it's his job to help Mark when Mark needs that help. He knows that he has to rely on him, so he has to step up and do what needs to be done. And perhaps maybe that last one over there, that one where he kind of has like the cloth
So that's the
face
Mr.
cover.
Knight personality.
The Mr. Knight, is that like a balance of the two? Little Mark, little Steven, all fun?
In the comics, he's Mark. So basically, it's him utilizing the powers of the Moon Knight while
Okay.
still being Mark. Whereas as the Moon Knight, he is the avatar of Khonshu.
Okay.
So
So that's the mysticism and the whole like
yeah,
wrapping from the third dimension costume change.
yeah.
Had that
I'm
whole
actually kind of
live costume
curious
from Spawn.
because Stephen would never have gone to Egypt. He never would have been in a situation. So I think Mark is the dominant personality, but because Mark was killed, his other personality, like whether that was some kind of personality split from being murdered, like it is in the comics, that Stephen then took over, and then Mark was like, "Well, this will protect me because it will prevent like other people that I know from getting hurt." I don't know. There's so many different directions they can go in.
Because in the comics, it was a statue that was found that granted him the powers or something, correct?
Kind of. He was in front of the statue, but it was Khonshu appeared to him because he was a mercenary, and he was backstabbed. So he was left for dead, and then Khonshu's like, "I'll let you live if you'll be my avatar." Kind of like Mephisto. It's like, "I'll let you live if you want to make a deal."
Gotcha.
So I'm very curious how they're gonna go. I fucking loved it, man.
Well, we've got images. We see all three personalities, and so I'm curious to see more about. Like, I hope the next episode kind of focuses on Mark a little bit more since he gave up control. I hope that that's Mark taking over and being Mark, and we get to see how he interacts, and maybe he does some things to kind of help improve Steven's life, and Steven becomes aware that Mark is actually helping him, not hurting him.
I'm hoping this is Marvel's Shutter Island.
Ooh, I would like that. I would like that. I see some twists and turns afoot, so yeah, we'll check that out. Well, I say we do. We'll let a couple episodes go, and maybe we come back and we do a recap after like 3-4 episodes, right before we get to the end. That way, we can make our predictions, and then we can come back once it's finished, and we can see if we were right. Sound good?
Sounds good. So
all right, man.
Let us know your thoughts. Comment below.
And if you got anything that you want to add about the characters, if you want to, tell us something maybe we missed, because I'm not the Moon Knight guy. Don't know. I'm learning, and I will do all of my homework and research and be more prepared for Moon Knight discussion next go round. I'm gonna get that Marvel subscription and start reading all those comics. But we've been Grown A Geeks. This was our spoiler review. Check out the show. Tell us what you think, and we will be here later. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe, and we'll talk with you later. Y'all have a great day. Peace.
Peace.